Just you have to note down something where I said, just one thing you have to remember: we are trying to control the power. In power electronics, we will control the power without any loss. Without, if I say without any loss, that's wrong. Mainly without a very few loss, with higher efficiency. So in your world, uh, what power electronics really do, just process the power. That's it. It just process the power. To process the power, we have to design everything. And this is the nowadays trends. You can say it's passion of engineer nowadays. So in power electronics, we will have a power circuit and a controller circuit. Power circuit and a controller circuit. If you sit set with your pen and notes, just try to note it down. A power circuit and a control circuit. We'll discuss about both things. Both things are important. In power circuit, in power electronics, power circuit, just handle the power, just transfer the power or passes the electron, power, voltage, whatever you say. In control circuit, mainly in which phase or in which category, how the power will pass, it's all these things decided by the control circuit. So in between power circuit and control circuit, there are some isolation part to run the power circuit. That's called driver. So in power electronics, we say mainly power electronic systems and drives. So three things you have to know: power circuit, control circuit, with the driving circuit. Is that clear? So I already talked about all those things that uh, we need to use power electronics for higher efficiency, uh, to minimize the size with the efficient costing systems. To provide a lower cost solution to the user actually. And the weight and size also matter. So we need to go for uh, higher efficiency with lower cost and low lightweight things. So I think you already knows about the applications and where the power electronics really used by. So mainly two different types of application are used in power electronics. You can divide it to two types: in dynamic, that's moving like electric vehicle and something like that. And another one is stationary device, just like UPS, energy storage system, power supply, solar power, or if you already in the previous workshops. So there are some basics first. Those are the important things. Power electronics basics. There are some basics power electronic systems and types. Already is discussed about something like that. One is DC to DC converter. I mean, if you want to convert a DC power to another DC power, if you want to step down the voltage, step out the voltage, you want to control the current, if you want to do something like that, then you need a DC to DC converter. And a rectifier also, we can say there are some control rectifier, normal rectifier. These are also power electronic systems, DC-to-AC inverter as well as AC-to-AC cycle converter. So for that, we have to use chopping circuit. These are the words you need to remember. Chopping circuit means in most of the cases we need to use switches, power switches. Power switches means that chop, that cut the power that you are providing, or the voltage or the source you are providing, that you just divided the source voltage you are providing. That's known as chopping circuit. I will discuss about the chopping circuit in later part. So what we really used in our electronic systems is diode or switches. MOSFET, IGBT, SR, those are switches. We can use any switches in power electronic systems depending on what kind of system we are using. I'm talking about all those things before going to the final design, because those are important things to know to design a power electronic systems and in tracks. So power converter, you need semiconductor switches. So, if you already work with switches, you can mention something like MOSFET, IGBT, depending on my application. I have to use any of them. And also energy storage elements or active passive elements like inductor and capacitor. These are highly used for filtering the output sources and other components like transformer control circuit. So I think you already noted those things to going further. So let's discuss about the basic power electronics circuit. Here are some DC-DC converter that we can see. There are buck converter, boost converter, and buck boost converter. So in depth, if you want to go in depth, a buck converter, what is a buck converter mean a step down converter or a DC to DC converter that just step down the input voltage that you are providing. And in vice versa, boost converter is just step up the voltage or just increase the voltage that you are providing. And on the other hand, buck boost converter can do both things. It can buck or boost the voltage source that you are providing. So I will talk details while designing all those things. Maybe I'm going to cover buck boost converter as well as synchronous buck and asynchronous or something like that. So in power electronics basics, just let's discuss about filter and rectification side. Just say you have an SE source, you want to work, just think about your charger, mobile charger. It can be a very good mobile charger, just like Apple charger or something like that, and or any Android charger that's made by Chinese or something like that. In the initial stage, you need to rectify the SE source. I mean, where you are plugging in your 220 line, you need to rectify the source. Then you have to filter this to get pure DC. So in here, you're rectifying SE circuit to DC. Then to decrease these are the ripple DC. To decrease this ripple, we are just using filter. By using LC filter, we can decrease the filter as well. So this was the SC to DC conversion. Then we need to invert this to get high frequency SC. Why these high frequencies indeed in power electronics, that will be discussed later. But before that, what an inverter does do, it's just convert the DC signal to AC signal. You might ask me some question like why we are doing SC to DC conversion, then again DC to SC. Why all those things are important? It's just because to convert the conventional SC source to high frequency SC and high. What power electronics really do? Uh, it's just chopping or to convert the original SC or DC source to high frequency SC, then doing other stuff like if we are talking about any DC-DC converter, there the high efficiency one is nowadays is really inverter based one that in between buck converter or boost converter. By avoiding those things, we need to use SC, DC to SC, SC to DC, then DC to SC, or DC to SC, then SC to DC converter, something like that. So this circuit shows how SC circuit works from DC to SC. What we say that you consider about a power circuit, what is there? Just a mobile charger. That the smaller mobile charger doesn't mean that it's a lower quality one, but it means that it has an higher efficient power electronic circuit inside. So what it does, just as it converts SC to DC, the line source to DC source, then it converts to SC. So some things we need to consider while designing circuit. It's mainly I just want to discuss about two things. We already showed the DC circuit, buck converter or boost converter. If I go previous, there is a chopper switch, I mean power switch that switches the input DC voltage to the lateral high frequency AC. Here we'll find chopping circuit. We'll discuss it about later. These are the power swings, and depending on what kind of resources we are using, we have to identify this kind of switch. It can be a MOSFET, IGBTs, it can be a thyristor, it can be any switches like that, GTO, something like that, anything. But how we will identify the switch, let's discuss with these things by starting the PSIM simulation. Okay, I will come back to the my presentation again just after starting the design. I think everyone installed PSIM circuit. Did you install PSIM? If I'm not wrong, you are already done with that. So this circuit, I'm just making it again for your convenience. Okay, just before doing that, I'm coming back to this again. So I'm using Dr. Phillips, Dr. Professor Abdul Razak slides. So he really had a good course in that what we learned from his course. I'm just showing this. It's taken from his lecture. So this is a basic DC to DC converter. So it's yeah, I think you already, if you're done with 300 or 400 level course, you are already done with this. But it seems a normal simulation, but in practical world, the uses of this buck converter is really big. So let's start with the introduction of this circuit. Mainly, this is the supply voltage. This is the supply source. It can be rectified DC. It can be solar. It can be any battery or any kind of DC sources. Any kind of DC sources it can be. So mainly why we use DC buck converter, we can just say that just think you have a 12 volt battery, you have a 12 volt battery, or more than that, 100 volt battery bank. It can be anything. You want to charge it from just say a solar bank. If you want to charge it from a solar source, you need to use attenuate the input signal or input source that you are providing. So what we have in input, it can be 17 volt, depending on the solar panel. It can be 55 volt if you are using thin film or crystalline, depending on the panel. It can be anything. So if you want to charge a 12 volt battery, you need to supply maximum of 14 volt, depending on the stage of the charging stage of the battery. Just say you need to supply 14 volt to provide a certain amount of charging current. So if you have an input voltage, just say it's 50 volt, you need to step down this the solar source. You need to step down because your voltage. There are lots more things, just like MPPT operation, maximum power point tracking operation, continuous current operation, excessive current operation. For I'm just not going to these much, but to step down these voltage, we need to use a chopper circuit. These are the chopping signal we are providing to this circuit. This is the MOSFET. It can be MOSFET, IGBT, anything, but you just note down one thing. Maybe I'm asking to note down very few things, but those are the really important things that we are considering to develop a real product. So note down one thing, that in many cases, MOSFET mainly used for lower voltage. What I say, MOSFET uses for lower voltage. Just say the voltage uh, in between 10 to 100 volt, and you can say to 200 or 250 volt, depending on the design. But mainly in lower voltage cases, MOSFETs are used, and for higher voltages like 600 volt, 700, 800 volt, or more than 1000 volt, mainly IGBT are used. So two different things today will be discussing that we are widely using. One is IGBT and another one is MOSFET. So in lower voltage case, what I said here, we are using 50 volt. In this case, we will use MOSFET, and in higher voltage cases, we can use IGBT. So in this case, let's say we are using a MOSFET that will switch the input DC voltage, and it will chop the input to DC voltage by this signal. And this signal calls just a gate pulse signal, depending on the controlling issues, we can say it's a PWM signal, pulse with modulated signal. So this signal is just chopped in this circuit, and then here it's filtered by an LC component. Then we'll get a PODC with attenuation. I mean, depending on the duty cycle or the duty of this signal, it will attenuate it. If we provide 50% duty cycle, we'll learn about what is duty cycle. Then it will be 50% less of the uh, less of the supply voltage. So I just say it about duty cycle. These exactly what duty cycle means. If you know about pulses, these are the pulses. It's looks like square wave, but these are pulse. So in a pulse, in a period of on time and off time, these are the period of a pulse. So if you can just sign this point in this one, just give me a minute. If you start from there, so we have starting point from there. It started again from this one. So these are my period of this signal, and T1 and T2 are the on time and off time of this period. So what I say, duty cycle is the duty where how much percentage it is on, the percentage of on time. That's the duty cycle. I mean, you can remember something like duty. I mean, in a cycle, how much duty it is doing. So these are the duty cycle, and those are the equations already taken from. These are duty cycle, and those are the equations already taken from Rajak's lectures. With his permission, I will provide these slides to the to you if you required all those things. Just ask the session organizer, or you can mail me for those lecture. You can see these are the pulses and these duty cycle. These duty cycle can be controlled with a modulated signal, or we can say with an external signal. We can control this. We can increase the duty. I mean, we can increase or decrease the on time. That is the duty cycle control. I mean, if we control the on time, I mean, if we increase or decrease the on time, if we increase duty cycle increase from this equation, if we decrease this, duty cycle will be decreased as well. Creating duty cycle, it's another issues. I'll coming back to this point after the simulations. So where I was just in duty cycle. So let's start with those things, and remember one thing. These is the main things of a power electronics drives to create a PWM signal. That's all. If you can create a voice PWM signal, you can control any power electronics systems or drives. So this is the PSIM circuit. If you already installed the PSIM software, you can say this. This is the PSIM simulation circuit. If you open this, you will find out something like that. So we can start to design new design from there. If you click over there, the you'll get the simulation circuit like that. So it's a very much basic for any students probably, but I'm just trying to show something like you have a direct switching block from these sides. These are the components mode. You can find out all components. So from there, I'll just try to design something like what we said, buck converter or boost converter. So before that, just let's see what's the PWM signal. So if I take a switching block like that, this switching block, I can create switching PWM signal from there. So if I just double click over there, I can see the frequency is 5K or 5000 kilohertz, and the switching points are 0 to 180. That's mean it will create two switching point of 0 and 180. So if I want to see the switching signal of this, I can add a voltage probe from there. I'm going first, but you will have the recording session probably. Then you can see or you can check it from there. So let's see what's the switching signal looks like. It's we can rename this, or just let's uh, consider it as B1. So if I run this, I'm sorry, it records some data. So this Okay, just not doing this. Just let's try to make a buck converter. What I just say. This is the circuit. I'm just going to do simulate this. Make trying to make this circuit over pacing. So this is the just a simulation block. You can see there from this side, this MOSFET, this one is IGBT. So let's things you are in this session you are going to design a charger. What is a solar charger or any kind of mobile charger or something like that by means of buck converter. It can be buck converter, it can be buck boost converter, or it can be integrated inverter based buck converter. Just let's start with the buck converter, then we'll show how other circuit works. So before that, we are going to design these things. If you already did design in PCM simulation, just follow my instruction what I'm doing right now. So I'm taking a MOSFET as we let's consider we are going to use a source of just 50 volt. So I can work with MOSFET. As I said, if you did note it with the IGBT and MOSFET comparison, I said uh, uh, the I already mentioned. Consider a DC source of input signal. So this DC source just make it amplitude of 50 volt and consider it to be in. So I have 50 volt source. Just let's and I want to buck this. I'm not sure if you're getting my words or not, but meanwhile, the design, uh, I'm just saying again that a buck converter application is really used. Just we are trying to mention one thing that in any kind of solar-based charger, we can use a buck converter or any kind of DC motor controlling issues or charging materials. We can use this kind of inverter. So what I earlier said, we will have two circuit. One is power circuit, another one is control circuit. Just let's design the power circuit first. Power circuit means it will handle the power. Main power will be handled by the power circuit. So in power circuit, what I said, we will have power switcher or chopper circuit or MOSFET IGBT switches and active and passive component like capacitor, active component is switches, passive component like capacitor, inductor, like that. And in control circuit, the control circuit task is mainly to get feedback and provide PWM signals and other signals. That's it. So let's design the power circuit first. In this circuit, the power circuit, this one is the power circuit, switches, diodes, and other stuff. Power circuit. Let's design this. According to the design, we'll have a switch over there, MOSFET, and I took MOSFET and a diode. I'm designing first. Just let me know if you had any issue regarding this design. So a diode, I'm taking, and then an inductor, a capacitor. These very initial design of to begin power electronic systems and types. So from the wire connecting systems, and I just connect those things. So here our power circuit is designed. This is the power circuit. Now we have to calculate the inductance value of inductor and the capacitance value. You have to calculate all those things. But if you are a good designer, yeah, if you had a very good experience on those things, maybe you'll know how much values or what kind of values you need to use for that. But uh, the lecture I'm going to provide today, you will find out the mm, uh, calculation details, or how we'll calculate the inductance value and capacitance value in uh, in a power circuit like that. So we have the power circuit. Remember one thing I am mentioning again and again. You have to consider the power circuit and the control circuit. The control circuit mainly provide the signals to control the power circuit. The main power is handled by the power circuit. So these inductors are just without any consideration. I'm taking some values. Just say it's 5 millihenry. I'm taking these values. So we'll have an inductor over there according to the Bach converter design. I'm taking this as 5 millihenry, considering our design. And let's say this capacitor, this one is C out, and let's consider 100 microfarad. So what I said, I'll give you details how can we calculate the inductance and capacitance value. These are the load. This load can be anything. It can be a resistive load. It can be a nominal load. It can be batteries. Anything can be our load. Just considering a resistive load, let's say if its value is 12 ohm. So we are done with the power circuit. Let's say this one is a battery of 12 volt. We need to convert these 50 volt to uh, 10 to 15 14 volt DC. So we are converting this DC source to the lower DC. So these are our target. Let's uh, define this circuit. This one's power circuit. So this one's power circuit, and the control circuit, I'm coming there later. The control circuit design is different things. So we have our power circuit. We need to provide now the pulse signal to switch this uh, this input DC, or to chop this supply DC. So here we'll have a straight line of DC signal or DC source. Then we're going to chop this. If we chop this according to the Buck controller formula, we'll get something like that. We'll chop the circuit. I mean, when switch is off, switch is on, we'll get power over there, and when switch is off, we'll get no power over there. So regarding this, we'll get something like that. If we our voltage input is 48 volt or 50, we'll get an output voltage of, if we provide 50 volt, uh, 50% of duty cycle pulses, will get something like that. Almost 50% of the input signals. So here we have a design circuit already, but I'm going to do it over there again. So let's say we have all those things. We have a MOSFET. We want to switch it to a higher frequency. Just say 500 kilohertz, 1 kilohertz, or 20 kilohertz, or 50 kilohertz, something like that. Whatever we want to do that, we need to provide these signals to these switches. So what I earlier said, in any design of power electronics, we have three different parts. Remember these things, three different parts mainly. One is power circuit, one is driving circuit, another one is control circuit. So power circuit and control circuit are isolated by the driving circuit. So we need a driver. Here we have a MOSFET controller or driver. We can take it from there and just put it over there. Just let's connect these things to this circuit. So here we have the driver. This one is the driver. I can just take it. Sorry, just let's take this. uh, In PCM, it is known as on-off controller, switch on-off controller, or we can say it's driver. So just like power circuit, this one is driver. I'm going slow in PCM in another circuit. I'll go a little bit fast. Just if you have any question, just put it on the comment box. This is the driver circuit, and it's the gate pulse provider, or we can say this the control circuit. It's not a circuit really, but we'll say how the control circuit works. So from control circuit, we'll get the DC pulses. Pulses here we have 5K of switching frequency. So this switching frequency will passes through the driver to the MOSFET. So what's the task of driver? You can note it down. Driver mainly provide the isolations to the control circuit from the power circuit. This is the most important task of driver. Another thing is while using high voltage MOSFET control circuit, in any control circuit, just like you're using a microcontroller or you are using an analog IC that provide the signals or anything you are using like that, it mainly works 3.5 to 5.5 volt range. So if you get a pulse like that to work for for switching circuit, if you get a pulse like that, uh, you have to increase this pulse to the according to the drain to source voltage or gate to drain source voltage. These things can you can find out uh, from the what you said data sheet of any switches. So what we are doing here, we are providing a get signal over these switches. Just let's run this circuit. Okay. Uh, okay. So while using this control circuit, we do not need to use driver circuit. Just I'm giving an example over there. You just remember those things that we need a control circuit, a driver, and a power circuit. Just I'm deleting this one. Just let's check if it is working fine or not. So this is the basic circuit of PSIM, but to work with this PSIM circuit, we need to use a simulation controller. This is the simulation controller. Simulation controller provide the overall circuit control that how long we should simulate, what will be the time scale of this result. We are using default settings of that. Just let's see what will happen. Okay, we have ready simulation circuit, but now we need to consider that what we are going to measure in this circuit, that what we really need. We are providing this voltage. We know the input voltage range. What we really need, we can measure input current, input voltage, output current, output voltage, power factor, and the power factor and other stuffs like that. So let's see what will be the output voltage first. So I am taking a voltage probe like that, just add it over there and rename this VO. I mean, I'm going to measure the V output. So let's see what will be the response of this circuit. So uh, I just run this circuit and just give me a minute. I just ran this circuit and we have the voltage, output voltage like that. So you can see this the output circuit. If I just added voltage probe over there, you can connect this to this line to this line. Another, oh, okay, I just missed one thing. You have to remember you need to connect ground in the negative side of the source. So what this probe will measure, it will by default it will measure the voltage this resistance respect to the this reference point. I mean with respect to the ground. So you can see just in this circuit I just provided 50% duty cycle. So how much duty cycle I have provided, I can check it too by using this uh, circuit. So just let's name this BK. So we have B output and we can see by clicking over there, we can check the BC too. So this is the gate signal. Excuse me. I can expand this if I want to measure what kind of pulses I am providing. Just let's expand these things. So if let's consider I want to expand this, you can do it by mouse, or you can think something like, yeah, I want to see the result of 0.0015 to 0.02. Just click over there. So what I said, 0.015 to 0.02. So I'm just initiating the X scale of this. So you can see that it's almost 50% duty cycle I am provided. If you remember the PWM signal, what I say, duty cycle has two things. One is T on time and another one is T off time. If both are equal, T on time equal to T off time, then it is 50% duty cycle party for. You can say you can also calculate these from the equations, but what we did just see the get signal and assume that what is the duty cycle approximately. It's 50% duty cycle approximately, and we are getting 25 volts as an output. Okay, so what we have over there, if you provided 50% duty cycle, 50% duty cycle switching with a switching frequency of 50 kilohertz, we are having at 25 volt output voltage over there. Another thing, if you want to see the probe value, you can tick mark over there, and you will see the probe value that V out equal to 24, almost 25 volt over there. So this is the way to measure the output voltage. Yeah, you can see the output current as well. I just let's add a ammeter in series to measure the current. I out. Let's take this both. So I'm running this again. I can add another graph now. So I can calculate I out too. So I'll click over there. So this is the I out. It's almost 2 ampere. And it's the damping factor of this signal. In every signal, in every natural things, there before going to steady state position or before going to stable position, there will damping, there will be a vibration of the systems, there will be as we are using hard switching techniques, so we have vibration over there. So in any kind of resource, in your future resource, if you are working with any power electronic systems and drive, just consider these things. You have to avoid this. It's the natural things. We need to consider this. I will discuss these things later. Just consider that if you want to if you want to research on this simulation, that what kind of output you are getting, you have to consider the steady state position. That's the important things. Just you can note it down that in kind of any research activities, you have to count these steady state position. So just avoid the damping issues or resonant. It's not resonant sections. Consider these things. You can consider, if just say you want to find out the power output or something like that, you need to consider this part. From this you can take count is from the from this point, just 0.022, you can take the later part as usual. And another thing is that this time scale is up to 0.05. You can increase this by the simulator. You can take free run, or you can use, if you need furthermore, you can use this, just say up to one. But if you increase the time, then it will take more time to simulate. You can see the we have the time scale now up to 0.1. So now in PSIM, if you want to learn what the power what's the power output power, what types of power output is this, what's the output current and current to voltage relationships. So you can measure this from just direct calculation, like 2 into 50, it's almost 2 ampere current over there output. 2 into 50, it's 100 watt. But as well as you can consider, you can count this from there too. So if you are done with your simulation, you can take power counting over there, just P equal to VI, as it is just direct DC voltage. P equal to VI, you can see that V, you can put it over there by this arrow and just add multiplication signs, and I. So you have now VI, I mean power. So this graph shows the power output over there. V into R. So, okay, there's many issues you can consider. So what's the power output will be, what kind of power output will you have? You can see it over here, over this DC source. At DC DC, there will be no issues of power factor and all those issues. But you can, if you have an SC source like that, you can see the power factor from there, and as well as TSD. If you have the an inverter, you can count TSD and other stuff from there, as well as you can count the approximate values, like RMS values, as well as the what we said, the average values. You can count all those things from there by taking this specific part of the signal. So this is all from PCM sites. For time limitations, I'm not going far details, but the most important things I already discuss about. So uh, just consider some things like what I said. If you are a designer, if you want to build a product, you have to consider the input voltage range, switching frequency, and switches. So for that, uh, what I said, if you are using just say input voltage range of 250 and below, not above 250, you can take MOSFET, mainly MOSFET. And if you are working with higher voltage like above 500 or more than 250 or 300 above, you have to take IGBT switches. Those are some tricks that will learn by the any lecture like our IB provide in power electronic system and drives, or in any workshops like that. So what I said, two important things: voltage range. I just mentioned that MOSFET used for mainly lower voltage. That doesn't mean that we cannot use MOSFET for higher voltages. There are some MOSFET that's also designed for. Yes,
Sir, I have a question.
yes. So please.
So if I use 300 volt,
Hmm.
then what can I use as a switching like MOSFET or IGBT?
You
If
can
I
go
use
for MOSFET. So for every
300
students,
volt.
primary, yeah, you can use MOSFET.
Thank you,
For
sir.
all students, basics instruction is just start your project by using MOSFET. Primarily, start your project by using MOSFET. And for using IGBT and GTO or any module called IGBT module or MOSFET module, you have to be an expert on this. Start your product design by using MOSFET. But just some other things you have to consider in this section. I just want to mention these things over there. If you can see my slide again, there are some list. There are some list of the MOSFET, just IRF, Z48 to APT 101 RPM. You can see the rated maximum voltage. These are the important things you have to check while using a MOSFET. So the rated voltage for different design MOSFET is different. So we can see there are 1,000 volt MOSFETs are available in market, and the rated current is, you can see the rated current is up 50 ampere to 11 ampere, depending on the design. It's to change, but uh, while using any kind of switch, it can be thyristor MOSFET or IGBT, GTO, anything. The most important thing is these are on. Um, just give me a minute. I'm just opening another things. Around these are known as the resistance of uh, conducting channel of the MOSFET. So just say you need to use a MOSFET, any kind of, it can be any kind of MOSFETs. You need to go through the market, or you have to find out it on the internet, that what kind of capacity or what capacity it belongs to. So the main thing is what I said, the voltage range, that which voltage range does it works, and the switching capacity. So I just open practical MOSFET data sheets. So where you can find this, just say you need to work with 300 or 200 volt ranged input voltage. So you can search directly on internet that 300 volt MOSFET. Or if you knows about the design or the name of the MOSFET, you can directly name this IRF 540N. These one kind of MOSFET. In MOSFET datasheet, if you download this, we'll find out the voltage range. You can see BDSS, PDSS. I mean, in MOSFET there are mainly three different pin. You can see the MOSFET over there. This is the real image of this MOSFET. Yeah, you'll have three pin, number one, two, three. So if you take the front side of this MOSFET, you'll have three pin, one, two, three. These three pin is the sequence of GDS. Remember these things. I think while you're working, we'll check this. But in MOSFET or in IGBT, it is GCE. But just remember this GDS. That's the important thing. GDS means this one is gate, this one is gate. Number one pin is gate. The middle one is drain. The last one is source. This is the schematic circuit of the MOSFET. What is inside this? So GDS, G is the driving gate of this MOSFET. By getting a energy over there, this drain to source circuit will be activated. This is the another part, that is solid state device, how these things works. I'm not going inside of this, but remember, gate is the driving side of this MOSFET. Driving side means by the gate signal, define while D and S will be connected or not. This is the semiconductor device. Semiconductor device. That means it's not fully conductive. It's not fully isolated. So it can be conductive, it as well as it can be isolated too. So depending on the gate signal we are providing, it can be on and off. It can be connected or disconnected, on and off. But considering as channel, just say it's a channel through which electron will be passes. So if you consider these as a channel, so just say it's connected. While gate signal, you're providing gate signal depending on what type of MOSFET it is, NPN or PNP, depending on this, or N channel MOSFET or P channel MOSFET, depending on this, it will be connected or disconnected with the response of gate signal. So just say these D and S are connected while switch is activated, then it's a channel, it's a where electron is passing through. So it's not a superconductive wire or superconductor, so it will has a minimum a small resistance in this channel. If you consider DNS as a channel, so this will have a resistivity in between D and S. Is that clear? Just note it down. D and S will have a small resistance. This needs to be considered while you are designing a efficient product. Resistance means while you are passing electron or current passes through D and S, there will be a losses over these resistance. These known as conductive loss of the switch. Conductive loss of the switches. So these are the important things to consider. You can see there are RDS on. I mean, these will be RF while the switch is on. So you need to consider these things. Here we can see it's 44 milliohm. It's lower, but we need to find out something more lower than that. If just consider if this one is 0.44 milliohm, this will be very much efficient than this one. So what I said, conductive loss will be arised in the resistance between D and S. So this calculated as uh, power P equal to I square R. I mean, how much current passing through this drain to source, and what's the inside resistance of this channel. So remember, or you can note it down, that we need to consider voltage as well as the RDS on. And depending on the load, that what kind of load we are using a 12 ohm load only, that is getting only 2 ampere current. Depending on the load, you have to consider this current too. These are the primary uh, while you're designing anything, those are the primary consideration to pick any kind of MOSFET or IGBT. So what I said, you need to consider VDSS or supply. What's the supply of in what range of input voltage this MOSFET can work, and RDS, drain to source resistance, as well as current, and that what rated current it can passes through. So those things are the initial part to consider while designing the circuit. So we can see this MOSFET is 33 ampere. It can handle almost 33 ampere, and it works with 100 volt in input source. So and now what I'm going to say, it's very fishy things, but you have to remember while designing a things. Just try to take 50% in account while designing a circuit like that. If you do not, if you are not an expert on power electronics design, while using a, just say you are designing a senior project, or you are designing a project to publish for a journal or for a conference paper, you just if you are good, if you are not good at design, or you are if you are good at design too, just consider 50% of the supply. Just say this has a 100 volt capacity to handle this MOSFET. Just try to count 50%, or not more than 80%. No, never more than 80%. They say it can handle 100 volt. You just do not consider over 80 volt. Just take something on your hand. So while designing these things, just consider that it can handle 80 volt, 80 volt maximum. And while current, it is better to consider 50%, not more than that. They said, let's say it's 33, you can say 16 ampere maximum this MOSFET can handle. Because the design issue we have, design printing issue we have in our country. There are some things I will discuss in while designing the Proteus. But note it down, or you have to remember these things while taking MOSFET in account or IGBT. You have to consider those things. These the given data, but consider current as 50% and voltage as 80%. These things need to be remembered. There are lots more issues. These will be. I wish I could explain all those things, but we have very limited time. Actually, a power electronics practical product development design cannot be done in it cannot be done in 2 hours. So I'm not going in depth on that, but just let me show something else. This circuit already I showed that what will be the input signal and what will be the output signals. So like that, we can design these. Okay, what I already designed this known as a single switch buck converter, or asynchronous buck converter, or non-synchronous buck converter. Whatever we say, it's not synchronized. Synchronizations will become up with two if we use two different switches. Just showing you in this circuit. So this is the synchronous buck converter. Just we are using as switches instead of the diode. What we use, there is a diode in synchronous buck converter. In synchronous buck converter, we'll switches over there. It both switch will works different in different modes. Different modes means while it is on, this will be off. While this one is on, this will be off. This version off, this will be on. So this will be the basic get signal of that. And G1 and G2 will be just opposite. Advantage of synchronous buck converter is really high in terms of efficiency. The synchronous buck converter creates lots of noises and losses, while synchronous buck converter can attenuate all those things. There are some other issues we need to consider, like kind of circuit we want. We want a high efficient circuit or a circuit that can handle high power in, or we want to avoid complexity or not. Just say in these both circuit, asynchronous and synchronous circuit, we can see we need to use two different switches. We need to use different driving circuits, as well as control circuit is complex. So in synchronous buck converter, control circuit and power circuit, it's a little bit complex than the asynchronous buck converter. So it will be efficient, but the price and sizes of this converter will be higher. So in for those reasons, we do not use in power handling issue. We do not use synchronous buck converter. But while it comes to consider efficiency, we have to use synchronous buck converter. So I already have some design of synchronous buck converter. As I showed how to design these things, let me show you how to calculate those things. Here we you can see this is the circuit, and here we have buck converter design issues and calculations formulas. You need to go through all those formulas to find out what will be the inductor or current formulas for how we can calculate all those things depending on the current and all those issues. You can calculate LC as well as CC by following this formula. I'm not going uh, theoretical going through theoretical stuffs, but just let's focus on the design issues. So we already discussed about all those things. Just see another things. You can design an inverter or converter like that. It's if you're watching this, it's a very complex circuit. I'm not I'm not going to cover all these issues, but the main thing is how to create an SPWM signal. So just I'm drawing things in the lower part of this circuit. Just say if you want to analyze what kind of uh, PWM signal you want to create, just we need to compare a signal with a reference signal. And that's this that you can see these the signal that we are going to refer with these triangular signal. This is the triangular or modulating signal that a carrier signal that will be modulated by this reference signal. In circuit, we can see we have just consider these things. We have, as we are using three-phase inverter, we have three different signal over there. So if I show you something like this, the triangular wave, we can see the frequency of this triangular wave is 20K. I mean, the oscillations in this circuit is 20 kilohertz, and the reference signal is only 50 hertz. So in these three-phase inverter, I just want to make a circuit that will work on 50 hertz. So my original signals that will be modulated by the triangular is 50 hertz, but the modulating signal, I mean the high frequency signal, this signal, carrier signal, is almost 20 kilohertz. Higher, the one thing is higher, you can go the higher frequency. If you can obtain higher frequency, the system will be the lower in size and efficiency will be higher. So from this circuit, I'm just directly running this. We can see the gate signal as well as the output signal. You can see I started with a very small circuit like that, but in PCM you can do many things by using gate signal. So this is the gate signal. As we are using high frequency, we cannot see in depth. So let's see, just make this like, just expand this, expand it. Large. These are the gate signal we are providing. With the sine wave, we can consider these things. Uh, I'll provide all those things regarding data and source file. You can analyze this circuit. As you can see, this three-phase inverter, and this is the induction motor. One thing I forgot to mention, we our now latest project is we are working with an electrical vehicle that already taken to our ground floor with the cooperation of FabLab and GERC. So we are going to make it run by induction motor as Tesla did, but I don't know what kind of control we could have over there, but we are going to make this. Uh, so this is the primary design of our induction motor controller. And three-phase inverter. This will be induction motor. We can analyze the speed, torque, and RPM. All those issues we can analyze through this circuit. So these the inverter that we can design by taking the SPWM or switching signal over there. So how switching signals created? I already showed you by using a readily built-in signal as well as the comparative signal. So the main important thing is you have to take a high frequency signal and a reference signal by using a comparator. You can compare these two signal and create great signal. So I want to show you another circuit. Just see this one. Same things. Consider that we are not using it in electric vehicle. We are already built. Just let me show you something. So we are working with this car now. So we are using this car to run by electric motor, and we already build the PCB like that. I'm going to show you how we are building. And there are lots of projects we already works by, and by those things we already had. Um, personally have more than 32 publications and conferences, different conferences about the country and international publications regarding on this. What I wanted to show it's this project funded by ATOI. We GERC team on this project. So here we can see a boat is running by a solar panel. So the motor we are using, but there is a three-phase induction motor, and we are using thin film and crystalline panel like that. So for this project, what I showed over there for this project, we applied to the competitions and on these. But before that, we analyzes the circuit in PSIM as well as Proteus like that. In PSIM, you can use solar panel too. Okay, for your information, if any of you, if you missed anything or if you are interested to design further or to learn further, you can contact with me. By the by the help of the department or IEEE, I'll try to provide another tutorial hour over there. If you want to, just let me know or ask our teacher for that. So we can use solar panel as well as inverter, converter, everything in pacing. We can analyze this on depth. That what will be the signal, what will be the output input, um, what will be the power factor, what will be the THD, total harmonic distortion, speed, torque, everything we can analyze by using pacing. So in our design, we just deep simulate or analyze every circuit in PSIM, then we do Proteus design. So this is the primary complete design of PSIM project that we already completed. So let's start with the Proteus design. So this is the buck converter design, and I show to there the synchronous buck converter. So let's see. We want to design these in practical product development. I already mentioned many things over there that we need to consider: inductance calculation, capacitor calculations, and as switches, what kind of switch or chopper we are using. So considering all those things, you need to go for final design. Just in Proteus, we'll design these things. So if you need anything like simulation output, what will be the waveform, what will be the current, what will be the power factor, TSD, all those things you can simulate in PC. You can do it in Proteus too, but what we do, we try to analyze all those things by using pacing. There are many other softwares too. In Proteus, we just justify that signal we already get is that okay with Proteus or not. So the Proteus simulation circuit flow, it's really important for practical product development design. So after simulation, if you get the proper output from the simulation design, you can go for practical product development finally in Proteus. You can use other software tool like Eagle, Fusion, 360. I'm not going over there, but just as an academic students, you can do it over Proteus. So there is a Proteus circuit. I just what I said, I'm going to design these things in Proteus. So we have to switch over there. So we take two switches, but in Proteus circuit, you has to learn about how this design is done. It's not complex. It's a practical product development simulator. So you need to consider. You must have to some basic idea about practical product. So while working with Proteus, you has to know about you have to know about the product name or what kind of product you are going to use, something like that. So let's start with designing in this Proteus circuit. How we'll design. So let's consider these things. We'll use input source to MOSFET. Just consider this will be MOSFET, inductor, capacitor, and all those things. And just let's start with designing first. Then we'll see how this design can be converted to the PCB design. So what I said, Proteus, it's a complex thing. So you have to remember something that how to design in Proteus, start new project from there, or you can start it over file. I'm directly going to the component mode. There are the many things in this lab site, but you have to start with the component mode. In component mode, you can find a library file. You have to search serially. We'll design this circuit. Remember one thing, just try to design the power circuit first and then control circuit. So let's start with designing power circuit. What I said, just take the input source, just say B source. So you can take DC source by just writing source or B source. Yes, I took the DC source and I want to take these two MOSFET. This is the design of power PSIM circuit, power SIM circuit. So I'm going to design it over Proteus. So considering all those things, just let make this on Proteus. So we have input source voltage. What we said, we'll have 50-volt input. This is the input. So you can rename those things or you can leave it by, like that. It's up to you. So now we'll take two MOSFET for that. MOSFET will be just say what we said IRF P540N. So let's take this FET. I just type 540N and I'm taking this MOSFET as my chopper switches. Excuse me for give me a little time. Okay, so I took the MOSFET. I can put it over there. Just rotate these according to the design. So you can see from the design, we need to use two different MOSFETs like that. So we can take two MOSFETs. So one is I'm putting one is this side and another one. So this will be the drain connection, source to drain. So this is the main power circuit. We have to use inductor and capacitor over there. You can type over there, or you can find it in this list that we have inductor. Inductor we over there in subcategory. You can take a generic inductor from this side. So take the generic and select a generic inductor from this side and put it over there. Connect this and let's take the capacitor. I took the capacitor and connected over there. So according to this, I can take. Okay, for better result, it's better to take an input capacitor in any kind of AC to DC conversion or DC input circuit, as it's a chopper circuit. It continuously switches the source signal. If source is strong or weak, whatever it is, it will be in trouble to provide the instant power that's required by the switch. Yeah, or if we do not use any capacitor, it will make many ripple on the input sides as well as the voltage spike that we need to consider. So it's better to use a capacitor uh, in input side while designing any circuit. It's not the required design for buck or synchronous buck or boost converter, but in a chopper circuit, it's better to use these things. And what I showed already, you can calculate those things from. You can calculate what will be the input capacitor values or output capacitor values in the what I already showed from the lecture that will be provided to you. And let's see the inductance value. What I said, L, and it will be just say 5 millihenry. So that is 100. So those things depends on the capacity of your power circuit. What will be the ripple? What will be the ripple factor, and what should be the filter values? It should be LC or something like that. It depends on your design actually. So let's take the load. So let's take this load resistor as loads. So just count this as 10 ohm. So I'm just doing it. So this is my load, my inductor, switch 540 input source, and we have to connect a ground over there. You can take it from this mode, terminal modes. So let's click on terminal modes and connect this. So my power circuit is done. Now I have to take the driver circuit, as I have two different switches over there. So let's. So I'm just copying one thing. I'll explain this. So this is my power circuit, and my power circuit is done. What I said earlier, we need to consider three different parts of designing a practical product. It's we have a power circuit, driving circuit, and controller circuit. So these are our power circuit done. I just so for uh, faster design, I'm just using a ready design we already have. So our power circuit is done. This is the driving circuit. There are many drivers to drive a MOSFET or IGBT. It's like IN 2104, 2101, 21001, or you can drive it by using a optocoupler or opto driving systems. Depending on your design, you can use anything. So the basic driving uh, driving material is this one, IR2104. This is the driver. It has some pins. You can see it has 8 pin. It's 8 pin driver. It has an input in pin 2, and as a driver or isolator, you have to supply power to this circuit. So to this circuit, this is the power of this circuit. It's you can take this power from the source mode. Source. You can take a DC. Depending on the driver, it can be 15 volt, 12 volt. You can provide any kind of driving voltage. Just say it's 12 volt. If your MOSFET can run by 12 volt signal, then it can be 12 volt. Or if you want to increase this, and you can increase this. There's the reference signal that will be amplified by this driver. So this will be the input signal that we'll be getting from any analog signal or any IC or integrated uh, what is a microcontroller. So this is the basic structure. I'm not going details. We have to connect a diode from pin number 1 to 8, and a capacitor from 8 to pin number 6. So for in this driver, we'll have two different output, a high low, two different to opposite output for the input signal. The input signal will be synchronized to exactly in high out, and will be opposite to the low out. And this is the common or ground signal, and we have to connect a capacitor in the source signal of this driver. And this is the selector. The driver uses in many purposes. We can directly use 5 volt over there to continuously run this, or you can use this for to different switching when we need to switch. these or not. We, if you want to shut it down, we can just cut this by microcontroller, and the PWM signal will be just fade away from this driver. So we have two different switches over there. One is high switch and another one is lower switches. You have to remember one thing, that the ground sided switches is always lower switch, and the main power side switches, this there will be the main power connected by the higher switches. So this should be connected with the HO, and low LO will be connected with this signal. Now, the signal we are providing to these high switches and lower switches, it has to take some feedback. This is the circuit requirement, and you can say this is the reference signals to switching this circuit. So this is the P source reference. I mean the switching reference. You can take it from anywhere of these connections. You can take it. Excuse me. Let's say this should be connected with the BS. This is the BS. I just connected it. So this is the my driving circuit. So what I said, just say my pulse signal will be going through this signal. This is the pulse. This this should be provided in this driving signal inside, and this will be converted to high voltage. Two different signal. One is HO, another is vol. Hello. This will be 180. This will be opposite. I mean 180 degree opposite of each signal. So this is the primary circuit. We have power circuit and we have driving circuit. So what driving circuit do? I already mentioned those things. You have to remember. If you take notes, that's very well. So let's design the control circuit. So in control circuit, this another use things. You need to, if you are not using any analog IC, just say you want to use a microcontroller that you can program with. So you can take any IC if you works with. Just say I'm taking an IC 16. We just design things in our lab by using this microcontroller. This an 40 pin microcontroller, or you can take a lower pin microcontroller. Just say in what I am writing, it's the microcontroller name or pin number. So this is the microcontroller. Now, in microcontroller, you can see we have some PWM signal in microcontroller. It's named as CCP, CCP1 and CCP2. Uh, Here you can see there is a CCP1 in pin number 5. This microcontroller name is 16F690. It's a 20 pin microcontroller. So from CCP1 we can take the PWM signal. I'm going to explain this in no time. Just give me a minute. So CCP1 will be provide the PWM signal to the driver. Driver will amplify this signal to two different signal in synchronous buck converter, and it will run by this signal. So these the basic circuit design in Proteus. Just Proteus. Now, if you want to build a firmware, you have to make a code in any floor. You can use Python as well as C, C++, or assembly language. You can do it anywhere. I just already made a code by using CCSC compiler. So there are many things actually related to build a practical product. So you can be expert in simulation. You can do simulation wells, simulate circuit well. You can do a design in Proteus that you will see in hardware, or you can be a code expert The most important thing is actually power electronics design, basic design in Proteus, and the code. Those are the typical part, difficult part of this power electronics design. So code, as an electrical engineer, every engineers are afraid of code. So this is the difficult part, you can say. So these are basic code to make a PWM signal. I am just explaining in brief. These are the header file that needs to be used for to generate PWM signal or to do any kind to build any kind of firmware. So after a header file, we are just declaring some integer variable like that. This is the main body of the code. So we have two different ADC ports. If you want to take any feedback from the circuit or you want to control the PWM signal, then you need ADC. Otherwise, you do not need ADC signals. So I'm not going detail in brief over there. If you need anything regarding this, just let me know. And this is the PWM that we are going to make. This is the PWM initial setup signals, and we are running a while loop to make the PWM signal continuous, and for loop uh, to take the input signals without any oscillations or disturbance. And this is the duty cycle we can set by taking the input signal from there. I just put it 50% duty cycle on this circuit. So just run this circuit. This the same circuit. Uh, this the circuit I just built. Maybe this will create. We have to consider many things like just say you want to see the load current, how much load you'll have. You can add an ampere meter like that and a voltmeter over there, and an oscilloscope to see output, input, and all the signal. You can take the oscilloscope from there, or you can add voltage or current probe directly to measure all those things. So what I did, just build this signal and compile, make this code and compile, then build. So after compile and build, you can say we have an hex file over there. If you can see, we have an hex file over there. So this hex file is the farmer. Note it down. This is the farmer. In any interview or any product development site, you might be asked, what do you understand by farmer? So farmer means the code actually, or the core of the microcontroller or control circuit that instructed the instruction code or the instructions that provided to the microcontroller. Depending on this firmware, your system will run swiftly. So after providing all those things, let's run this. You can see the run button over there. So it is taking time. So what I'm getting over there, I have 50% duty cycle in this circuit. I am just taking 50% signals in this microcontroller, or I can take what I said. I can take the control signal to change the PWM signal. I'm not going so far for that, but you can see for to provide 50 volt, we are getting almost half of them. Though it is lower than that, it should be 25 exactly, but as I said, it's a practical design. Depending on the load or how much current you are getting, the voltage will be slightly different than the PCM simulation. So you can take the signal image or all other things by using this oscilloscope. I just stopping this thing. Just delete this. We can take oscilloscope from there. By in oscilloscope, you can see the output voltage by directly attaching a probe over there. and you can see current if you add a current sensor over there, or the voltage that you are providing to run the switch. This is the higher one, this is the lower one. There are many things to avoid these all those connections, and just not going through all those things. So if you have a variable voltage source, you have to add different oscilloscope. But in this oscilloscope, just I have added. You can see the signals that you are providing. These are the PWM signal that you are providing. So by according to the PSIM, you can use this simulator to design practical circuit, and by using Proteus PCB design or arrays, you can design the practical product like that. Let's start with the PCB design. So let's consider you already done with the PCM simulation. You have many experimental simulated result from them. Then you started designing Proteus. You already designed this whole circuit in Proteus, and now the terms of designing the prototype or product. So this is the most important thing you need to consider while designing. You can directly design from this circuit by clicking arrays. Okay, so there are different steps in designing Proteus circuits, PCM circuits, or Proteus array circuit. So you have to note down again something. So while designing PCB, you need to consider something like in PCB you have to again I said you have to design the power circuit first, and it has to be in aside. Aside means you have to take it in any side of the PCB. Just say you want to design a rectangular shape PCB, then you or a round shape PCB or whatever you want to design. If you have any power circuit that will handle the power, you have to take it in aside. And beside power circuit, what I said, you will have a driving circuit as well as the microcontroller or controller circuit. So two different things for driving and microcontroller. You need you need supply. I mean, you can see we already supply 15 volt over there and a 5 volt there, and the microcontroller required 5 to 5.5 volt to work perfectly or without any interrupt. So you need to take power circuit power from the power circuit. So considering all those things, uh, let's design the PCB here. So in PCB you need to consider many things like while taking the component. Just say you take this component as a source, but in PCB you will not have any direct source over there. You need to connect just wire over there. I'm just doing this, not here. So what I'm doing, I'm giving you a brief idea, not details. For detailed expertise, you need to provide, give you time and discuss with experts or anyone like that. So for that, just you need to work with these protests. Just I'm going fast to design this thing. Just while considering all those things, just say you want to design a PCB, you are done with your simulation and everything. So while designing a PCB, you cannot consider simulation part. So designing a PCB, it's another part of Proteus. So your simulation part should be a part or in a different folder. PCB part should be in another folder. So before designing PCB, just start with the power circuit, and what I said, you cannot use direct source over there as you are going to connect. Let's say you want to design a buck converter or say SMPS or switch mode power supply, or it's an adapter or a charger like you're using to charge your phone or laptop. So while using these things, just remember you have an input source and an output source. In between that, you need to do all those things. So what's the basic thing? You have an input side and output side. That's it. So for input and output side, just consider a connector. You need to connect to where as input if you are using DC single, or for AC there will be some other things, three phase AC or something like that. But considering DC, you will have positive and negative wires. So consider uh, a junction or connectors. You can see connectors over there. Any kind of connector you can take. You can click connectors and see connectors from there. So I need to take two pin connector. Let's see, there we have two pin connector. Just take this, rotate. So let's consider, we'll connect our DC source, uh, positive sides in this side and negative side. So I am changing my input side. I'm giving two connecting point. There I can connect two connectors, but while taking the connectors, just consider that you are taking the right one. Just one need to consider. Okay, just note down another things. While doing PCB, you has to be very careful about the size of the component as well as the capacity of the component. So you take the connectors. You can justify the size. Just say you click over there, and you can see the PCB preview or PCB layout in the right side of the circuit. So it's a zero point 0.1 inch apart in this, so you can identify the size of this circuit. So while taking any component while designing PCB, I am doing it on a already designed circuit, so I'm not counting the PCB design. But while designing a PCB, do it separately. After, just complete your simulation, PCB simulation part, then go to PCB design. So while taking the component for PCB design, consider the sizes or PCB preview. Just we have the capacitor over there. Click over there and try to find out the packaging tools, that do you have the size over there or not. Just see here, the capacitor is zero point 0.1 inch. It's very small, and depending on the capacity we want to use, just say it's 1000 microfarad capacitor, it will be more than uh, zero point 0.4 inch. So depending on your capacitance, your capacity of the circuits, capacitor capacitance, all those things, regarding all those things, you have to find out the actual size of the capacitor. Depending on the current mode, you have to find out what kind of connector you are going to use. Uh, but one thing is, if you select a proper MOSFET or IGBT, then you do not need to consider all those things, the size or other stuff. Just it will have a built-in PCB. So we already connected the switches as shows. Let's see, is there any packaging tools or not. So in inductor, we can see there are no packaging previews. So inductor, in practically what kind of inductor you are going to design, that's really important things. Just in PCB design, I'm already done with the simulation part. So let's go to the directly PCB design. So let's come back to the uh, what do you say? Give me a minute. Let's come back to the presentation again. I am going to cover some important issues over my presentation. Then we'll go back to the design. So you can see these are SMPS switch mode power supply. It's a DC-DC converter basically. What is inside of this circuit is these. There are two capacitor. Yeah, this is basically input capacitor. It can be input, output, anything, but consider these are input capacitor. You can use one or two parallel capacitor as an input, and these the inductor mainly. And depending on the design, what kind of filter or output inductor we are using, there can be one inductor, two inductor, or more than that. This is a input filter, and those are the switches. We can use one switch or parallel multiple switches. As an SMPS, these are the rectification side. That is, we are going to use these from AC to DC sources. These are the output filter capacitor, and you can take the output from these two pin or these three pin. This is the actually transformer. If you use the power supply from the grid, then you can use transformer, small transformer to supply over there. So this is the practical circuit of an power electronics device or power electronics uh, practical product. If you want to design something like that, you need to consider. Already I said many things, that what will be the size of this converter or SMPS, or what will be the switching frequency, what kind of component you are going to use, what will be the per square meters power consumption capability, what will be the PCB type, it will be double layer, triple layer, single layer, or multiple layer. More than that, what kind of inductor material we are going to use. So many complex things are need to be considered, but some basic things that you have to consider is the what I said, MOSFET capacity, what will be the MOSFET or IGBT capacity, capacitor capacity. It's important. Just say you are using a 50-volt input signal, then you need to use more than 100-volt capacitor, as there will be spike or something like that. So you need to use more voltage capacity capacitor than that of the input voltage. That thing you can note it down, that if just say if you have 50-volt input uh, input voltage, then you need to use minimum two times of this, just a 100-volt capacitors in the input side. Or if you use any something like, if you have 50-volt, you are using 30-volt capacitor, then there is a high, the capacitor will just blast out, and the circuit will be damaged. So those things should be considered. uh, According to that, the output capacitor should also be considered. Let's say you will have a 15-volt output, then you need to use minimum of 30-volt output capacitor. And the inductor depends on the current actually and the frequency. If you can increase the frequency, just like now we are following some journal or recent research activities of MIT and Stanford University. They are using more than 400 megahertz of switching frequency. 400 megahertz. It's really huge. They are making things really, really small that can handle huge amount of power. So considering the switching frequency, you can determine the what I say, inductor size, as well as the uh, transformer size, if you has any transformer. So what we see here, it's a transformer. These are the very important things while designing a power circuit of any converter, inverter, or filter of any kind of like systems like that. So beside MOSFET, capacitor, and input output filter selection, the most important thing is this one. So remember, these things has to be designed perfectly in any power electronics device and drives. So while designing an inductor, it seems like a resistor or small things like that, but inductors not that. Depending on the capacity, it can be very big, small, or lower instance like that, or middle instance. So what should you consider while selecting an inductor is mainly the core and the copper. As we know, there are core and conductor wire for transformer as well as inductor. So you need to wind this inductor. You can use a toroid core or EI core like that, anything like that, or bigger one. Depending on the frequency, if you can use more than megahertz, 1 megahertz, 2 megahertz frequency, you can minimize the inductor size as small as you can. But for 1 kilohertz frequency, 5 kilohertz frequency, the inductor will be very large in power electronics systems. So blurs. components means lots power absorption, lots power, lower efficiency, and other stuff. So considering inductor or transformer design, you need to consider some things like switching frequency and current capacity. How much current will be passes through this inductor, and what will be the uh, continuous changing frequency of this. So considering all those things, you need to pick and core. What I'm saying, I cannot specify what exactly the core size will be, but this thing uh, should be identified by you. There is no, there are some calculation, but there's no specific calculations for your design. You have to find out the perfect equations to identify the inductor size and core size. So why I'm showing these things, because in our every circuit, what we design in practical world, in every circuit we suffer a lot for this inductor design. So what I said, we need to consider this inductor design in any power system. So we have no sign over there. So just delete these things. Used to connector over there. I'm getting echo. Okay. So I'm going back to again as taking one component. So what I'm doing over there, just adding two different connectors. By using those things, will connect the inductor over there. So just 2.2 wire will be connected to these sides. Our other component, just IR2104 driving driver, will have uh, driving PCB over there, and as well as big microcontroller. We have both PCB in this design, so we do not need to consider all those things. So in arrays, PCB arrays, if we are done with this design circuit in PCB arrays, PCB arrays is designed like that, but in your practice and in your expertise, you have to design. You can design well in arrays or any kind of PCB circuit like that. If I go to the arrays from my design, this already designed PCB. Just I'm showing how to add all those things. Just give me a minute. Yes, I do not have two component over there. I'm going to place this in different side of this PCB. Yes, I need to click on place component and any kind of switches like that. So just switch this one, another one like that. The green sign it shows me how to connect this PCB circuit. So PCB design, I'm saying again, PCB design is depends on your hands, that how well you can design the PCB. These are the connector. The green line shows how to connect the component. So if we put all the components accordingly and connect these with by the direction of the component that are already showing, or by our design, we'll have just say these general normal synchronous buck converter that we already designed. This part is the power circuit part that we can see there are MOSFETs in that input and output capacitor. And this is the driver that we are provided to isolate the both things. And this is the control circuit. Control circuit is this part. These are the control circuit, and this is the power circuit. I'm sorry, for limited time, I cannot go through the details design, but you have to remember something, that you have to put the power heatsink side in outside out border of the PCB. And the high frequency components like switch, inductor, that should be connected uh, with as close as possible. So this was the design. We can see it in 3D design as well. So after designing in Proteus, you can see what will be the looks of your PCB after designing the whole parts. This is the single layer PCB. That's the copper layer, and this is the component layer. So you can justify all those things by using PCB. You can print these by using file export, and as well as you can identify the size of your PCB going to the board statistics. So these I think this all will discuss about the question answer and all other parts. So this PCB design can be done in Eagle or some software like that too. In professional world, we if you work for any journal or any large professional company, you have to learn about to design your circuit in Eagle. So this is the Eagle circuit. You can use Eagle for designing any kind of circuit like that. Uh, I'm showing one circuit already I designed in Eagle. It will be printed for an university that we are already collaborating with. So for higher studies or PhD, or if you want to work with any other stuffs, you need to learn designing PCB in Eagle. So you can design PCB in Proteus as well as in Eagle. So I think I'm done with today's session. There are many other things. So thank you, sir. I think I'm done.
Thank you, thank you, sir, for your information.
Thank you.
From the prediction of Fed sign, the duty cycle of a converter varies from 0 to 1. Why?
The recycle of the converter varies from 0 to 1. It's it's not mainly 0 to 1. It's what we say. It's percentage, 0% to 100%. And so what we according to the equation I already showed you, you can calculate this that you will get 100% to 0%. Uh, that's why it's 0 to 1. It's not 0 to 1 exactly. It's 0% to 100%.
So there is another question, and from the amplifier sign, an ideal rectifier should have a total harmonic distortion of 0%. Why?
Okay, harmonic distortion is really bad for any circuit. In ideal case, we can consider 0%. Harmony should be minimized as lower as possible. So in ideal case, we sorry, sir, I didn't get it. Where I'm trying to get the harmonic distortion lowers mean we have a lower. If you see any inverter or converter specification sets, you'll find that total harmonic distortion is less than 5%, less than 3%. That means it has lower distortion. It has pure wave or pure sine wave or pure square wave, pure sine. Lower distortion means pure signal. That's why ideal case is 0. Any other question?
Hello everyone. I have some question. May I ask the question?
Yeah, sure. Can you say your university name and department? Then you can continue your question. Thank you.
Okay. I am Hassan Kumroni and I am from Baoist. I am working as a lecturer in the Department of Tripoli here. So I have some questions regarding the session. Can I continue?
Yes, please.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Rejon Bhai, I have really enjoyed the total session. I've been in the session from the very beginning, and you have actually covered a lot of topic. And only those who have worked on this sort of thing they will understand. Okay,
Right.
I have some questions. I actually work on controlling part on inverter, and recently I'm working on the simulation version only. So
Okay.
if I want to do on practical work, can you suggest me any online shop where I can find this electronics component basically for power electronics?
Okay, there are many electronics companies like Tech Shop, Robotics PT, Speedy Tech. Mostly we bought our components from Speedy Tech and Tech Shop. There are many more nowadays. We even bought something from Daras as well as Alibaba too. But the better, if you want my suggestions, is to go to Purandaka. Try to collect component by own your hand. It will be inexpensive. I mean, cost efficient as well as it will increase your your what do you say experience too. But in now considering the corona situation, you can order things from Tech Shop PD, Speedy Tech, Robotics PD, Electronics PD, something like that. Thank
Okay.
you.
And I have several more questions.
Okay, please do.
In the circuit you have shown, these are actually basically open loop control circuit. Am I right?
Yes, yes, open.
Okay, so here if I want to use analog ICs like 555 timer,
Mhm.
would that work for this type of PWM generation?
Okay, in triple five timer, it just provide you this PWM signal. But there are some other analog devices like SP001 or something like that. I can give you later on the list. They can take feedbacks from the input as well as the output source according to your requirement. You can take current source, current charging current informations or the current car voltage information of the battery voltage. You can take feedback and fed it to the IC, and they can produce PWM by depending on that. But we do not, we hardly work with analog IC. We mainly use microcontroller. We take analog signals to the microcontroller and then provide the firmware according to that.
Okay, actually I have worked with Arduino or AVR microcontroller.
Okay.
Would that work for such kind of application?
They will work, but in professional world, very few people use Arduino and FAIR. You can use them, but it's better to switch to microcontroller. Microcontroller, I mean, peak microcontroller. If you use peak microcontroller, you will have many variations and very good operations for that. You can take feedback in Arduino too. You can work with that. That's also fine. But professional world, do not use peak microcontroller.
Okay, if I want to design a feedback control system, for
Okay.
example, the circuit I have shown, this is a boost converter, for example.
Mhm.
Take it. So then my output voltage would be, for example, if I take input as 12 volt to 50
Okay.
volt,
Mhm.
so output is 50 volt, then can I directly feed that 50 volt into the PIC
Micro.
controller, or should I process?
No, no. You have to remember something that peak control circuit I already mentioned. It works in the voltage range of 3.5 to 5 volt. So you
Okay.
cannot cross 5 volt range. So if you need to take feedback from 300 volt, 50 volt, 100 volt, anything, you need to use a divider circuit. And you have to consider these things that divider circuit providing you 3 volt, that means just say depending on your design, your input voltage is 300 volt. That will be considered by your coding or firmware. But you cannot provide more than 5 volt to the microcontroller. That is very important. Otherwise, microcontroller will burn out. It works on the 5 volt range.
If I use divider circuit, wouldn't that create heat or something like that?
Now it depends. You need to use divider circuits considering the capacity. Just say you have 50 volt, then you need to pick the resistance considering the current you're going to passes through the divider. You will use high resistance that will passes very small amount of current that will limit the power loss over resistance.
Is there any better choice rather than using the voltage
You
divider?
can use optocoupler ICs that also works as divider, and you can provide it isolation too. If you use an optocoupler, that will the input side of it can handle 300, 500 volt, more than that or lower than that. It will provide isolation as well as the divider too. If you have any confusion regarding optocoupler how to use, you can search on internet. Optocoupler dividing is the best choice for working with any sophisticated circuit. It will provide you isolation as well as the dividing two.
Okay. My last question. In the buck converter, there were some transients. Actually,
Something.
we needed 50 volt, and it almost gone up to 80 or 70 volt.
Okay.
So, what do you do actually in practical design to reduce these transients?
Okay, in every component there are certain tolerant part. If you see the time length of this transient part, you see it's very small amount of time. So that's why I already said that you need to consider while picking a MOSFET. Just if they say it's 100 volt MOSFET, just take 80% consideration of that. So in small amount of time, it can survive. So we do not consider these transient or drop down positions. Just we consider the steady state position. The
Actually,
transient time, it's very small amount of time. Component can survive in this time.
we recently faced a problem. We have installed switchgear lab in our university, and
Okay.
there was a MOSFET in a control circuit. And when we just started the total training module, it's gone. It just burned out. So
Okay.
rather, so I think that is the cause of transients.
No,
I
no,
think.
there are many things like that. We already did some experiment like that. It can be the inductor and capacitance happens in the wire you are connected, spark that you connect while connecting the wire, or the capacitance calculations. Capacitor that given considering the your power source that can be limited, or the control circuit. Uh, See, two more things is very important in power electronics device and circuit. The most important thing is control circuit should be activated before the power circuit. Control circuit should be activated before the power circuit. That is, your circuit should be controlled by a controller before connecting to the power. Those things should be maintained, but I don't know which company you are using. There can be lots of things related, but according to our experience, we already faced a problem like that. Just to connect wire in a long by taking in a long run area, our most of the converter already burned out. Many things should be considered actually.
Okay. Well, thank you, Rajan bhai. If I want to further communicate with you, what would be
I'm
the
just
best?
Rizwan at ib.edu.pd. You can communicate not me over there, or they will provide you the email address.
Okay, thank you, Rajan.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Is there any
Okay.
question from participants?
No, Misbah, you can go for the next part.
So there is
Then we will have a group photo.
yes photo session. So I request everyone to turn on their camera for us.
Faraz, you can call our branch counselor, Dr. Kafil Islam.
Faraz, just share the screen of the certificate.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
I will hand it over to the trainer.
Okay, sir. Sir.
So, Mr. Rejwan Hussain Azad, this is a small token of appreciation on behalf of IEEE Student Branch and IEEE IAS IUB Student Branch chapter. Thank you very much for your kind presence in the workshop as a facilitator of the workshop. And we are very honored to have you with us. And I hope that the participants have learned a lot from you.
Thank you.
That you'll be helping us in our future workshop as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
In the meantime, I'd like to thank all the participants who have registered and participated in this workshop. Without your presence, it would not be a successful one. I would also like to thank our honorable branch mentor, Professor Abdul Rajak sir, who is also the faculty advisor of this IEEE IAS student branch chapters. So thank you, sir, for your presence all the way from the beginning to the end. Your presence always encourages us. I'd like to also thank all the executive committee member, the host, the co-host, everyone in the EXCOM and volunteers to successfully organize this workshop. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kafi sir, and thank you to Professor Abdul Rajak sir, and thank you to Rejan sir and thank you to everyone to staying with us and make this event so much fruitful. And we'll end it up here, and thank you everyone. We'll see you inshallah next time in next workshops. Allah Hafiz.